Well, let's get talking now very quickly. The role of professional bodies in strengthening tax administration in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized, as they are critical to deepening institutional framework through quality reporting and the regulation of effective tax practice in the country. Given the low growth of tax, that's a low growth rate of Nigeria's tax to GDP, an increased synergy between the regulators and the practitioners have been attributed as one of the major factors are needed to create an enabling environment for smoother revenue collection, as this will spur speedy issuance of key paperwork needed for the administrative and business life for both government and citizens. Well, let's talk about this very importantly, as I have with me in the studio a reputable tax practitioner, Dr. Titilayo Fowokan. Thank you so much for your time. Happy celebration.
Thank you, Tolu. Happy celebration. Nice
Well, it's good to always have you in the studio. I must thank you so much for your time, despite traffic and how the roads is. Well, it's even fair on holidays.
Well, it's fair, but rain's just
of course, there will always be an effect. Now, let's talk about the role of professionals. Yes, like professionals like you in tax administration. What really specifically are the roles? Let's take them out before we now go one after the other. How well have they been using that role to impact our tax laws and policies?
Okay, thank you for that. I think that question is right on time because we're trying to develop our tax system. We are looking at increasing our tax to GDP ratio, and the professional bodies are really relied upon by the tax administration to be able to do this well. Let me start from the fact that for you to talk about taxation, you need to have a set of accounts. And then you have the law. So if you hear the way I said it, I've said accounts. So it means some people are behind that set of accounts. And that's the accountants who prepare the accounts, who make sure that it's true and fair.
Yes.
And when you now go to the side of the law, we have the lawyers who also knows that the letters and the spirit, they talk about letters and the spirit of the law, they guide in that aspect. Now, within our setup in Nigeria, our tax administration actually lies on different bodies, lies on the accountant, lies in the legal people, but most importantly, it lies in the hands of the Charges of Taxation of Nigeria, because that's the body that actually has that regulation of tax practice, regulation of tax professionals within the country, while you have the other bodies that are into accounting, auditing, law, and things like that. So their role is very critical because they must be able to give the tax authorities the comfort that the accounts they are prepared and audited are true and fair and shows the state of affairs of the company. Now, the tax practitioner at the other side must be able to do the right thing, go by the law, advise the taxpayers the right way to do their tax preparation, to do their tax accounting, to do their tax filing. While the tax administrator relies on the professionalism that comes from these different bodies. So they are working, it's a teamwork. One is in terms of the accounting, the other one auditing, the other preparing. In fact, when we look at public sector, we have strong members of the accounting body, the ANAN members, who are in the public sector. When you talk about tax incentives and some tax policy issues, they are within the public sector. They need to also work, the accountants there, the tax practitioners, they also work together to ensure that everything makes our tax system to be holistic and is well laid out. So if you look at the Finance Act, you have a combination of accountants, tax practitioners, policymakers coming together, looking at our tax system and saying, what else do we amend? What else do we change? You have the pressure groups that will say this is what we want, but they can't translate whatever they want into naira and kobo without the accountant. Neither can they even get to the tax authorities to interpret those things without the tax practitioners coming in. So, and the lawyers, when we have tax litigation, you have lawyers there. TAT, you have the lawyers sitting there, going there to represent them. So the professionals have a lot to do, and they have to work hand in hand to be able to deliver on this. So our tax system can be very robust.
That reporting is where I know the time we're talking about international financial reporting standards and all of that. Does that have anything to do with this? Because you are the people that prepare the documents. You prepare these papers, and people now come, they vet it. We hear of auditors coming around, and everybody is shifting and adjusting here and there. So how well have you professionals been playing that role?
Okay, it's good. International Financial Reporting Standard is what we currently use. We moved from Nigerian Accounting Standards Board to Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, and they've come up with the IFRS standards. Now, the accounts now are being prepared in line with IFRS, which is under the Financial Reporting Council. When these accounts are prepared, whether you're small or you're publicly exposed or you're big or a PLC, these accounts are prepared. Once they're prepared, the auditors will audit it and tell us, oh, it's true and fair. You represent the activities of the company. So you can't even do anything in Nigeria, and we talk of financial statement, without going through IFRS standards to the extent applicable. And then when they do that, within each organization, they also try to have a tax desk, a tax unit, a tax function, a tax department. These are the people that will look at this and say, does it meet this standard? Before the auditors now come and put everything together, put their opinion on it, and then hand it over to the tax consultant, who would, in fact, when the auditors are doing their work, the tax consultant is also reviewing the tax provision, which is a part of the financial statement. So they are reviewing that and they're saying, look, to the extent of this performance of the company or of the business for this period, for this year, we think this should be the tax you should be recognizing, which you eventually pay when the filing is done. So the Financial Reporting Standard is the basis for preparing financial statement, which will be audited, and then tax will be prepared based on that reporting.
Now, let's talk about harmonizing our fragmented tax system, because that's what many people are talking about. That if we harmonize, we will do better than we are doing. Some are saying that we don't necessarily need to increase, because I'm also worried with the state of the nation, with economic issues. We just read about fuel selling for almost 400 naira a litre. We know what is happening. So are we doing well to harmonize our tax system for enhanced revenue generation?
Well, let me start by saying that we have a body in Nigeria, the Joint Tax Board. The Joint Tax Board, the chairman of Joint Tax Board is also the chairman of Federal Land Revenue Service. And all the states of the Federation, their Internal Revenue Service are members, their chairman are members of that board, and some other revenue generation agencies of the government. Now, there's a battle we're battling with now, and that's multiplicity of taxes. We have different laws by different states. Unlike the UK, we have one income tax law. Everybody knows what it is. So each state have their state laws. And the way we even work when it comes to personal income tax is the federal law, but administration is by the state. So you can see that dichotomy. So as we had today, we have a lot of pockets of levies, tax. You know, people will say levies are not taxes. Agreed, but they all affect disposable income. We have tax laws. We have the company's income tax. We have value-added tax. We have capital gains tax. We have Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act. We have the Personal Income Tax Act. We have the Customs and Excise Tariff Act, and these are all towards revenue generation, and also how the tax system will be administered. So if we have an harmonized system, it makes it easy. In fact, to make you, the bad part of it is that in each state, you have the state laws, you have local government edicts that are also there. So if we have something harmonized, so we all know, the key thing is tax should be predictable. It should be simple, and it should be easy to administer. The cost of administration should not be too expensive. But there's so much that we need to do in that line of harmonization. And I believe that the Joint Tax Board is working on how to get this done as much as possible. Why? Because there's a saying that you don't milk the cow that gives you, you don't kill the cow that gives you the milk. You need to just be careful. Otherwise, if the cow collapses, you can't get enough milk again. So these are things that is being said, and a lot is happening. I must give kudos to our tax administration, the tax authority, the chairman of Federal Land Revenue Service, and the states. They are trying as much as possible to ensure that the tax system is as easy. The ease of doing business is being looked at, how they make it easy for us. But I think with some level of harmonization across board, we may be able to get that. But you should also remember that we have our fiscal federalism. There's the federal, there's the state. But if we can even start somewhere, let's even start from the state, harmonization of the state laws, and let's be sure of what we're collecting, predictability, and things like that. So it makes business owners to be focused. And these are the taxes I'm paying. We can have, each state must have something uniform. But now we seem to have some different things from different states and things like that. But I guess some level of harmonization is required to make life easy for business owners, and also to make us people to be voluntarily complying, because voluntary compliance is the critical thing. So there'll be lower cost of compliance.
There obviously needs to be contributions from the likes of the CITN, the likes of ICANN, the likes of ARN, and all of those people that were at that meeting to this what's it called, Finance Act that we've had.
Yeah.
I think in 2 years now we've had it.
We've had three.
Three.
We have 2019, 2020, 2021. Yeah.
So how well have you guys also been contributing to this, and how well have we gotten the positives of this Finance Act in your assessment?
Let me say the era of Finance Act is a very good thing that's happened to us. Before this Finance Act era, we used to have Finance Miscellaneous Decree, and I think that was up to the Abacha regime. But now we now have Finance Act. Now every professional body makes their own input into this. The ICANN, the ANAN, CITN, they make input. And you see, for your information, members of CITN are also members of ICANN, members of ANAN, members of MBA. So CITN seems to have like a robust ground for everybody, though they are into core tax, looking at tax profession. But ICANN has an input, and then all of them will look at, okay, what are in our laws that needs amendment? What amendments do you need to do in our tax policy? Yes. They all come from their own different angles of seeing. You know, you can't see it all. Everybody comes from his own aspect. And we've been seeing that working, because each one of them will make proposals of what amendments that needs to be made. The committee in charge, they will look at it, and then they will say, okay, looking at the law, looking at this proposal to this extent, they make their proposals, even though the final output still lies with the House, you know, and like that. But at least there's been some work, some synergy around professional bodies putting their inputs. Because I'm a member of ICANN, I'm a member of CITN, so there's no way I won't want to look at it from the two sides if I have that opportunity. But I think that we've been getting that input.
That MOU, what impact do you think it will have in the entire space?
I think the MOU is just to streamline the workings of all the professional bodies concerned. It's not changing anything. Each of those professional bodies are set up by an act. We have the ICANN Act, we have the CITN Act, we have the ANAN Act. So they are all set up by an act of the parliament. True. But what the MOU is saying is, okay, let's work together as a team. The ultimate goal is to develop tax administration. So if our goal is to develop tax administration, how do we work together? You as an accountant, you're in charge of regulating profession, accounting and auditing profession. How do you come in? You come in from the point of preparation of the accounts. You come from the point of recording it properly, auditing it. We have the ANAN person who also will look at. So the MOU is saying, as we are all together, how do we work together as a team and make sure that the taxpayer don't suffer for anything? Let's see where this one stops, this one begins, and then let's have a good handshake between each other. So it's more like saying all professionals were one. Let's work as a team.
Interesting stuff there. Now, modern and efficient tax system needs data. Big data. That's what we're talking about.
And we're in the era of big data.
How well are we also taking advantage of this?
I would say that quite a lot is happening in the area of data. You see, before now, we've migrated a lot in our tax administration system. Yes. I can stay in my room and file my tax returns.
Yes.
So I don't have any excuse to say I can't file, unless I don't have the, what do we call it now, the internet access, which I believe that every one of us now have decided to invest. Even though because of the Finance Act, digital services are now being captured properly within a recent Finance Act, and you still have to get this internet service to be on. So once you file your returns, it's seamless. And we're talking about the issue of data. The tax authorities in different areas have been trying to get some data from. In fact, we have things like country by country reporting, which is under the federal law. You report your activities across the different locations. If you're a group, if you have so many subsidiaries in different countries, you file a return every year, reporting your activity in the different countries, income, expenses, assets, things like that. And this is enough information to be able to know how companies are operating across. Then we have things around your filing, online filing for individuals. You go on there. There's BVN. BVN makes life easy. The tax authority don't even need to beg you. They also have some agreement with the banks to get information from them if they so feel that you've not disclosed your income properly. So they've been making use of this. And I know the FRS recently have created data mining units, which they are planning to use to be able to get people to pay the right tax, declare the right income and pay the right tax. The state authorities are also working on this. So I believe that in this era of data, it will get to a state that there won't be any hiding place, because the data is there. using it positively is good. Though we've said in the past that you don't even need to increase the tax rate if you have so many people in the tax net. So with data, you may be able to now say, who are those not in the tax net and how do we bring them in? So that's where the work will now be for the tax authorities to go back and do their research and see how can we maximize the available data that we can get. People go, lifestyle. People have lifestyle that you can see. How can you maximize it? And I know
and tap into it.
Yes, and see how this can be used. So it's the information seems to be coming up. And with this global world, you cannot say you want to hide anything anyway. It's easier. So the only thing is the political will to do some things and giving the tax authorities enough support to be able to use this data to get more revenue for the government. I know they are doing quite a lot in this area, whether state or federal.
The figures we are getting from FRS these days always look very interesting. Like you see the figures are looking attractive. Like, wow, all of this money coming in, VAT and all of that, company income tax and all of that. We report these things and we see that. I think there's something they are doing really correctly. But what are you looking at, or what is your projection with regards to expectations from non-oil? Because that's where the focus is at this moment. Are you seeing that we're going to do better, or what do you think our performance will be?
I'm not in the tax authority, so I will not be able to be exact in terms of expectation. Let me just say that with the way VAT is run now, there's likely that the FRS, I think last year they made some targets.
Yes.
This year they're also looking at that. VAT ordinarily should not be something that will chase anybody to pay. You sell, you charge VAT, you remit, and you have a timeline. You're making a sale for this month. You have 21 days to the end of to the next month to remit. So ordinarily, you would have been able to meet up.
Yes.
So with it now, you file, and the key thing is that it's now online. If you delay, let's assume your VAT is due 21st, that's the due date, and you decide not to file and pay by that date, automatically the system gives you a penalty. So nobody wants to trigger that penalty. If you imagine you're paying like a 50 million, you have 10% flat that comes on that amount if you're late. Immediately. Then as the day goes by, the interest, you'll be surprised that if you think you want to wait, you have the penalty calculated the second day, you see interest for one day, the next day, another. It keeps going on and going. So everybody is trying to say, please, let's quickly do it right. And that's where the FRS started saying, recently they just published that they want to do some monitoring, VAT and withholding tax, because these are monies that should ordinarily just come straight without any labor. It's not something like income tax that you would have looked at it, you do yourself, even though they are also self-assessments, but they believe that to some extent, it should be as correct as possible, as accurate as possible, and it should be timely as per the law. So these are things, and June was a date for any December year. And so June was also another harvesting time for the tax authorities in terms of the federal filing. So everybody was rushing to file. So I think things are looking up if the trend of compliance continues or improves, let me put it that way. And then I believe they should be able to have a focus in meeting the target, though I don't know what they look like as at today. But we're optimistic they should be able to, if everybody comply as required.
Hopefully we'll have you in-house again to look at it when these figures start to trickle in. I must thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you. I've been speaking to Dr. Titilayo Fowokan there. She's a tax practitioner. Yes, a professional to the core. I can say that. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We appreciate this.